Okay, just wanted to talk about this Breonna Taylor situation. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to not be disgusted every day, every week, every month. It seems like we get another example, another reminder that we are not equal citizens. We say Black Lives Matter because too often we're being reminded that we don't. We know that white lives matter, and truthfully speaking, every black person in this country knows that all lives do matter. The reason why we say Black Lives Matter is because we keep being reminded that we don't. And so what we're attempting to say to our country, the country that we help to build, the country that we sustain, the country that we even elevate, reminds us on a daily basis that we don't matter. It's amazing to me how we get so much pushback for a phrase like Black Lives Matter, simply because of the wording. Because honestly speaking, I think if we said Black lives don't matter, we'd get no pushback. We wouldn't get people arguing with us in the street going, no, man. Black lives do matter. And by the way, all lives matter. We'd get none of that. Walking down the street, protesting, Black lives don't matter. People would be on the sides going, that's true, they don't matter. But because we're saying Black lives matter, we're getting all this pushback despite the fact that there is great evidence in this country that we don't. Watch this. The reason why we protest, the reason why we demonstrate is because if we hadn't, would any charges have been brought down? Would wanton endangerment even be on the table? Would anything have happened? Absolutely not. They would have swept us under the rug like they've done for centuries in this country, as it pertains to Black lives being senselessly and needlessly lost. Thank God Breonna's neighbors were white, because had they not been white, I don't think the wanton endangerment wouldn't have even come down. Because there's no way that you could be charged for endangering a life, but not be charged for actually taking a life. The only life that was taken was a Black life. The only life that was really endangered, according to them, were the white lives next door through the sheetrock. Think about how deep that is. And if you ever want to understand why Black people are enraged, you only have to sit in this for a second. If you are a human being who cares about your life and the lives of your loved ones, all you have to do is be empathetic for a second and sit in this and say to yourself, what would I do? What would I do if that was me? What would I do if this was my loved one? Because many people judge what's going on without actually looking at the fact that they would do the exact same thing, if not more, if they were in this position. Over 10 witnesses say that they did not hear anyone identify themselves as police officers. In fact, people were calling 911. No one calls 911 when they know police are on the scene. The reason why people are calling 911 is because they don't think police are on the scene. They called 911 reporting that there was a shooting, which means nobody thought that there were police involved in this shooting. They had one person who actually testified that they didn't know that there were police involved, that they didn't hear police identify themselves. And then mysteriously later on, they changed their story. Wow, that's never happened in American history before, has it? I'm going to be very direct about this because I'm done with the nonsense. I don't know what made Breonna's boyfriend, Kenny Walker, only shoot once. I'm going to say that again. I don't know what made him only shoot one time. If you don't identify yourself to me as a police officer, let's be clear. If you don't identify yourself to me as a police officer, and you come breaking into my door, into my house, you're not going to make it. Let me say that again. if you come break into my house, into my door, and you don't identify yourself as a police officer, you are not going to make it. Because I'm going to keep firing until the threat is done or you comply with me saying, stop breaking down my door. And when they ask me in court, sir, why did you keep firing? I'm simply going to say, with all due respect, Your Honor, he wasn't complying. They weren't complying. They were breaking in my door. No one identified themselves as police officers. And when I said stop, they didn't. So I kept firing. Does that sound familiar, America? You see how it feels on the other side? So I'm just going to say this to you. If I don't know that you're a police officer and you're breaking into my home, believe me, I will not be firing once. If 4 people came to my door and they were police officers, but I would have no way of knowing that they were police officers because I'm not clairvoyant and I don't hear them identify themselves as police officers, if there are 4 of them, 4 of them are getting shot. Why? Because I am a law-abiding citizen. Yes, I own a firearm. And it is my duty, my right, my privilege to protect my property and those who are on it. If a police officer didn't identify himself or herself and they were breaking down my door, they would be shot multiple times. And that is my right, my Second Amendment right as a citizen of this, not United States, because we're really divided, a citizen of America. I just don't understand how people can get away with not understanding how black people feel right now with all that's going on almost daily. How can you be charged with endangering a life, but not actually taking a life? Well, let's examine it for a second. The lives that you endangered were actually white, and the life that you took was actually black. Starting to connect the dots here? In America, I can feel you right now. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Tell black people how else they should feel. Let's flip it around. Let's say those officers were black. Let's say that life was white. Let's say that the neighbor was black. And the attorney general says, oh, yeah, I know white people want some justice for your white lost body, but we didn't see it that way. And you're going, what's there to see? And then you had black people going, hey, no, white lives don't matter. All lives matter. See how that feels? It doesn't feel good, does it? You know why? Because it's not authentic. It doesn't speak to the human experience. It doesn't speak to a spiritual being. It doesn't speak to fairness. It doesn't speak to righteousness. It doesn't speak to citizenship. America was in this mode of celebrating Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh, we honor her passing. Oh, we celebrate Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And then look what they did to Breonna Taylor. Look how they're smearing her life, spitting on her grave. It's the same spit that's winding up on the grave of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have made certain that justice was served. So if you want to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg, honor Breonna Taylor. If you want to honor white bodies, honor this black body. Because if it were the other way around, you'd be demanding justice, like we demand justice. And that's why we say Black lives matter. Because in this country, Black lives don't matter.